Once upon a time, in a quiet town on the outskirts of the city, there was an ordinary guy named Tim. He was curious and was able to notice mysterious and interesting things in everyday things. One ordinary day, Tim decided to do some cleaning in the basement of his old house. As he was rummaging through the old things, his eyes were drawn to a forgotten antique clock that had long since stopped working and was sitting in the corner with a dusty dial. Suddenly, the clock began to glow with a bright blue light, catching the boy's attention. But Tim was not afraid. On the contrary, he felt an irresistible desire to unravel the mystery of this clock. So he decided to spend some time exploring the ancient artifacts and become the hero of his own adventure story. As soon as Tim touched the clock, the time vortex took him back in time. He found himself in the distant 17th century, in a ceremonial palace of the royal court. Confusion turned to delight as he realized he could travel through time and visit different eras. Tim sensed the fascinating possibilities before him. He could witness famous historical events and meet great people of the past. He saw the highlights of the French Revolution, traveled to the desert among the pharaohs of ancient Egypt, and witnessed the conquest of new lands during the exploration of the West. But with these exciting journeys came challenges. Tim encountered time traps and complex puzzles that had to be solved in order to successfully navigate between eras. He realized that every action he took could affect the course of history, so he had to be careful and thoughtful. As his adventures progressed, the protagonist became wiser and smarter. He learned the value of time and realized that every moment is important. Time travel opened up new horizons for him, and he began to use his abilities to help others and save important moments in history. But when it came time to return to the present, Tim realized that the most important adventure was the present moment. He realized that the past was unchangeable and that the future depended on actions taken now. He left the clock in the basement to keep its secrets with him, but always remembered the lessons it had taught him. Tim returned to his everyday life, but once again, his view of the world was different. He grew wiser, appreciating every moment of his life and realizing that the present is the most precious thing any of us has. And in his heart, he remained the same young man with burning of exciting adventures. A few weeks passed after Tim left the clock in the basement, and he once again felt a genuine longing for the thrill of time travel. But this time, he had a different idea to use the ancient clock to create his own journeys. Tim began researching ancient books on magic and spells to figure out how to make the clocks work. In his search, he came across an ancient manuscript that mentioned a flying carpet. It was something that caught his attention. Tim decided to create his own flying carpet that would allow him to travel not only in time, but also in space. He used his knowledge of science and magic to combine the magical properties of an ancient clock with unique materials he found around his home. When the work was complete, Tim was faced with a majestic flying carpet with a hypnotic pattern on its surface. It rose above the ground and became a symbol of his own travels and adventures. Now that Tim had a flying carpet, he could go on amazing journeys to other worlds. He visited magical fairy tale kingdoms where dragons flew and magical creatures lived. He climbed to the tops of high mountains and flew over dense jungles. Each journey was unique and exciting. But through these adventures, Tim realized that the power of his flying carpet was not only the ability to explore new worlds, but also the ability to do good and help those in need. In his travels, he saved people from disasters, helped rebuild the world after devastating events, and supported those who were struggling. Tim realized that the power of adventure is not just the thrill of the moment, but the opportunity to make the world a better place, one step at a time. He felt more connected to the world around him and realized that his travels were only meaningful if they did something useful and good. Soon the flying carpet became not only a means of travel, but a symbol of hope and goodness. People knew about Tim and his carpet, and they knew they could always count on him for help. Tim continued to travel, and each new adventure taught him something new about the world and himself. He realized that the power was within him, and it wasn't magical items that made him a hero, but his ability to help others. Thus ended the second part of the story of Tim and his flying carpet. He became not just an observer of the world, but an active participant in making it a better place. Each of his new journeys opened up new horizons and opportunities for him to create good and meaning in his life. Tim continued his exciting travels on the magic carpet, saving worlds and bringing good where it was needed. But with each new adventure, he realized more and more that one thing he had yet to experience was the journey home. In his heart, he felt that the long-awaited moment had arrived. Tim took off on his carpet and headed home. All of his previous journeys had taken him far from home, and he felt a strong desire to return to the place where his whole adventure had begun. As he approached his hometown, Tim's heart began to beat faster. He knew that seeing his family and friends would be just as exciting for him as the most incredible journeys through time and space. When Tim landed in the front yard of his home, his family and friends were in shock. But their surprise soon turned to joy and happiness. They hugged Tim and exclaimed how much they missed him and feared they would never see him again. Tim told them about his exciting adventures and how he traveled through time and space on his flying carpet. His family and friends listened with admiration, smiling and marveling at his bravery and courage. He spent time with his family, telling them about the amazing worlds he had visited and how each journey had changed his life. He realized that despite all the adventures that awaited him outside of home, it was at home that he found true happiness and the concept of what it meant to be home. Over time, Tim realized that the most valuable journeys were the ones he took in his heart. He realized that home is not only where you live, but also where you are welcomed and loved. Through all of his travels, Tim always came home to be with those who meant the most to him. His magic carpet became a symbol of his adventures and time travel, but home is where he always returns. Tim realized that despite all the adventures and worlds to explore, true happiness is found in being with those who love you and whom you love. He realized that home is where his heart is, and he will always find peace and joy in his hometown. After returning home and reuniting with his family and friends, Tim began to use the experience and wisdom he had gained from his travels to help and support his city and its people. He decided to use his skills and magic carpet to do good deeds and help those around him. One day, when a terrible hurricane hit the city, Tim decided to help the people escape the elements. He took off on his flying carpet and saved dozens of lives by transporting people to safety. His speed and marksmanship saved many people who would not have survived without him. After the hurricane, Tim helped rebuild destroyed homes and roads using his skills and knowledge of materials and construction from different eras. His help and support became invaluable to the local community, and the town came to see him as a true hero. One day, an accident occurred in a village outside of town. The local well ran dry and the villagers were left without water. When Tim heard about it, he did not hesitate to take his magic carpet to the scene. He used his knowledge of geology and architecture to locate the underground spring and install a water pipe to the village. Soon the village had water, and the villagers were deeply grateful to Tim for his kindness and concern for them. In time, Tim's reputation for good deeds spread far beyond his town. People came from all over to ask for his help. He became known as the Carpet Traveler, who helps and brings goodness wherever it is needed. One day, while the main character was traveling on his flying carpet, he noticed a huge forest fire that was spreading rapidly and threatening the surrounding villages and animals. Deciding not to be left behind, Tim once again used his skills and knowledge to help. He traveled down to the scene of the fire and, using his carpet, split into several clones who began to extinguish the flames from all sides. With this coordinated approach, the fire was extinguished much faster than expected. Tim's every action was followed by grateful smiles and words of appreciation. He realized that his adventures and travels had given him unique opportunities to do good and help those around him. His flying carpet became not only a means of travel, but also a tool for doing good. More and more people became aware of Tim and his good deeds. He became an inspiration to others, showing that one person can change the world by doing good deeds. People began to follow his example and help each other, creating a strong and friendly community. Tim realized that true happiness lies not only in exploring worlds and countries, but also in the ability to bring joy and goodness to others. He continued his exciting travels on his magic carpet, but now his heart was filled with joy and purpose, knowing that he could make the world a better place, one good deed at a time. As the years went by, Tim became more and more famous, and his reputation as the carpet traveler spread to many countries. People traveled from all over the world to hear his stories and see his amazing flying carpet for themselves. He became a symbol of goodness and hope, and his name echoed in songs and legends. But with fame came responsibility. Tim realized that his skills and abilities could be used for more than just good. he began to think about how his adventures could inspire others to do good deeds and make the world a better place. He decided to create the Good Travel Academy, a place where young adventurers and those who want to help others could learn and be inspired. At the academy, he emphasized teaching his students not only how to travel and explore the world, but also how to help others and perform acts of kindness. Students from all over the world traveled to the academy to learn from Tim and his experiences. Tim became a mentor to the young travelers, inspiring them with his stories and lessons. He taught them how to use their skills and knowledge to help others, and how to travel responsibly. Over time, the academy became a hub where people from all over the world gathered to share experiences and ideas. Tim realized that he was not alone, and that many others shared his passion for making the world a better place. They all joined together to create a strong community where everyone could contribute and make a difference. One day, as Tim and his students were traveling together, they encountered a difficult situation. A war was raging in the world they were visiting, and many people were suffering from destruction and loss. Tim and his students decided to use their knowledge and skills to help these people. They helped rebuild destroyed homes, provided medical care for the injured, and cared for refugees. They realized that their power was not only their exciting travels and magical abilities, but also their ability to bring goodness and hope to others. They became heroes to the world, and their good deeds were instrumental in saving thousands of lives. In this way, Good Journeys Academy became not just a school, but a movement that inspired many people to do good deeds. Tim and his students continue to make the world a better place, one trip at a time. At the end of his long and exciting journey, Tim realized that his adventures had led him to the most important discovery of all, the discovery that true happiness lies in doing good, in loving others, and in being able to benefit those around you. Thus ended the last part of the story of Tim and his exciting adventures in the clock. As time passed, the Good Travel Academy became more influential and numerous. Its students continued to spread the message of good deeds and helping others to different parts of the world. Tim's responsibilities grew, but he accepted them gladly, knowing that his efforts were benefiting so many people. However, not everyone was in favor of the academy. There were those who didn't believe in kindness and thought it was all an illusion. Some thought that acts of kindness could be fleeting and had no special meaning. Tim and his students faced disbelief and criticism, but they persevered and continued to do what they knew was right. One day, on one of their journeys, the academy faced a great threat. Evil forces wanted to use the magical abilities of Tim and his students for their own dark purposes. They wanted to steal the magic carpet and use its power to wreak havoc. Tim and his students had to combine all their skills and wisdom to resist the evil. They fought desperate enemies and faced danger at every turn. But courage, friendship, and faith in goodness made them stronger, and they defeated the evil forces and averted disaster. After this battle, the Good Travel Academy became even more united and stronger. The students realized that only together could they stand up to evil and make the world a better place. They realized that kindness is not just a word, but an action, and that it can work miracles and overcome the most terrible trials. With each new day, the academy grew and attracted more and more supporters. People from all over the world were hungry for the knowledge and wisdom they found there. Tim's students became teachers to the newcomers, and their actions became role models. One day, as the academy gathered to celebrate its 10th anniversary, Tim realized that his adventure had become part of something bigger. His story had become a legend, and his students had become the heroes of their own stories. Tim realized that acts of kindness were not something isolated and temporary, but a state of mind and a way of life. He realized that he and his students were part of an eternity of good deeds that would transcend time and impact future generations. With pride and gratitude in his heart, Tim looked at his students and saw them as his peers, capable of making the world a better place. He realized that his adventure had just begun and would continue long after he was gone. His name and his good deeds would live on in the hearts of people and be an inspiration for generations to come. Thus ended the last part of the story of Tim and his incredible adventure in the clock. His journey was not only a personal journey of self-discovery, but also a powerful movement to change the world for the better, and it continued in the hearts of his students, who became true heroes of good deeds and bringers of light to the universe. Over the years, Tim and his Good Travel Academy became legends, and their deeds spread far beyond a single world. But as his fame grew, Tim began to feel that he was drifting away from the true values that inspired him to embark on this amazing journey. He thought about what it was that made him travel on a magic carpet and do good deeds. It was his passion for exploration, his curiosity, and his desire to help others. But over time, fame and responsibility brought new challenges and distractions that took him away from his true beliefs. Tim decided to take one last journey, a journey through time, to return to the roots of his motivation. He remembered how it all began the time he found an antique clock in the basement of his home. It was the moment that changed his life and opened up a world of possibilities. Tim went back to the moment he first activated the clock and took his first trip through time. He felt that wave of excitement and curiosity again. It was the moment he realized he had the opportunity to do something amazing and rewarding. This time, however, he felt something different, a deep sense of gratitude and peace. He realized that his adventures hadn't just happened, but were a destiny meant for him. Tim realized that true happiness and wisdom are within us, coming from our hearts and souls. He realized that his motivation was not just a desire for adventure, but a desire to do good, to help others, and to share his skills and knowledge. After returning from his time travel, Tim shared his reflections with his students at the academy. He told them that their power was not just magical abilities or the ability to travel through time, but the ability to embrace their uniqueness and use it for good. Tim turned his gaze back to his students and saw them not just as students, but as his colleagues and friends. He realized that the academy was not just a place of learning, but a family he had created to share his knowledge and skills with others. Tim realized that he was not alone in his quest to make the world a better place, and that his students were the future who would continue his work. He realized that their adventures would be part of his legacy that would live on forever. Tim made the decision to hand over the leadership of the academy to his students and let them flourish and grow to continue the cause of doing good deeds and benefiting the world. And so ended the last part of the story of Tim and his incredible adventures in the clock. His journey was not only one of exploring worlds, but also one of self-discovery, acts of kindness, and building a strong community. He left his mark on time that will live forever in the hearts of his students and all those who followed his example. After years of adventure and good deeds, Tim became a wise and respected elder. His story became a legend, passed down from generation to generation. But even as the years passed, he never lost his kindness or his passion for exploring worlds. He still spent time with his students at the Academy of Good Voyages, inspiring them to do good deeds and unlocking the mysteries of time and space. He found joy in the progress of his students and saw in them hope for the future. One day, as the last rays of the sun were setting, Tim boarded his magic carpet and set off on his final journey. But this time it was an unusual journey, a journey into his past. He visited the moments in his life that made him who he is today. He saw himself as a boy who discovered an antique clock in his basement and realized that this small discovery had led him to great opportunities. Then he saw himself riding the magic carpet for the first time, embarking on his first exciting adventure. He felt again the wave of excitement and curiosity he had felt then, and realized that this feeling had been with him throughout the entire journey. Returning to the present, Tim realized that his adventure was not over. He realized that the secret to perpetuating good deeds is to share your wisdom and knowledge with others, so that your students become teachers for the next generation, continuing the chain of goodness and inspiration. So Tim passed the leadership of the Good Travel Academy onto his most loyal students to continue making the world a better place. He knew that his story would live on in the hearts of those who heard it, and that his acts of kindness would benefit the world for many years to come. As he looked to the horizon, he smiled, knowing that his journey continues in the hearts of others, in acts of kindness and eternal wisdom. Fabulous Gate of Time Adventures and Good Deeds is not just a story, it is a legacy that transcends time, brightening the world and leaving a mark in the hearts of people. And so ends the amazing tale of Tim the Carpet Traveler, his acts of kindness, and his magical adventures through time and space. Thank you for joining us on this exciting journey into the world of the fabulous Gate of Time Adventures and Good Deeds. More thrilling adventures, mysteries of time, and a world full of good deeds await you. Continue our journey. Click on the next part of the story to uncover more mysteries and be inspired by the wisdom of the characters. Immerse yourself in a fabulous world of good deeds and journeys. Hold on tight, the adventure is just beginning. Subscribe to the channel, give us a like, and don't forget to ring the bell to stay up to date with new, interesting, and exciting stories.